of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Tuesday, February 8th, and the regular meeting of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission, being conducted entirely via Zoom, is hereby called to order at 6:04 p.m. The protocol for today's meeting was previously reviewed by Corporation Counsel, who indicated to me it is compliant with the executive orders issued by the governor and fair for those watching from a remote location. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, for our roll call, please verbally indicate that you're present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Parkins?
Present.
Commissioner Laskos?
Present.
Commissioner Amato?
Here.
Commissioner Tiki?
Present.
Myself, Commissioner Harger. Alternate Commissioner Onofrio? Don't see him yet. Mr. Rossetti, our administrator.
Present.
Mr. Nappy, our downtown projects coordinator.
Here.
Mr. Panico, our consultant.
Present.
Ms. Vernassos, our recording secretary.
Present.
Okay. Mr. Rossetti, do you see Commissioner Onofrio in the wait room or?
I do not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, and for the record, alternate Commissioner Usel indicated he would not be available for this evening's meeting. A couple of points before continuing. Mr. Rossetti will act as the Zoom meeting host, and while commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, I ask that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized before speaking to make sure that we're not all speaking over each other, and to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. Before proceeding with the agenda items, I'll need a motion to add an agenda item to other business, actually 2 items. And I'll explain the need for that. It's we would be accepting it for review and directing staff to set a public hearing. So the first agenda item would be a proposal by the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission to establish a temporary moratorium to prohibit the acceptance, processing, or any other action on any application for the establishment of any recreational marijuana production, growing, sales, or distribution facility in any zoning district within the city of Shelton. I can get a motion, then I can go into a little bit of detail. Is there a motion to add that proposal as agenda item F to
I'll
new
make
business?
that motion.
Do you have an application number on that?
No, I went back into previous minutes and it was never numbered back in 2013 and 2014. But we could definitely look into that if that is a requirement. So there was a motion made by Commissioner Kelly to add that as item F to all other business. Is there a second on that? Oh,
Is that, Jenny, I think you said that was to set a public hearing, so we'd be
It's to
hearing more about it then?
it is a proposal by the zoning commission. And that's how it was done back in 2013 when the medical marijuana was allowed by the state, where the zoning commission made a proposal at that time. And the procedure that night that I went back and checked was it was accepted for review and a public hearing set. It's similar to an outside individual being an applicant or a company being an applicant, that the proposal is accepted for review. Instead of it being an outside applicant, it's the commission itself. So after that, we would be able to have a discussion.
Sharon, I'm just asking for clarification if there's not an application number, if it's
Yeah.
actually legit.
Jenny, I thought this was for general discussion, not to set a hearing.
I don't know that we can without an application. Can we?
Well,
I'm asking for
that's how we
clarification.
did it back in 2013 and 2014 is only identified as proposal.
The commission
So-
could initiate potential actions on its own.
Tony, can you speak up? I wasn't too loud.
I said the commission can initiate its own actions with respect to amending zoning, for example. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to come in as a formal application. Now, if you want to assign it an application number just to keep track of it, that's fine, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Okay, thank you. I just needed that clarification. I just didn't want to go down this road and then find out everything would be
Yeah.
voided because we didn't do it properly. So thank you for that. I will second the motion.
Okay. All right, so
And
there's,
I still not clear on what this motion is.
okay,
it-
it is just.
Where is
a
it coming
motion.
from and who initiated it? And
We're
why
gonna
are-
get into that, but to answer your first part, the motion is to add an item to the agenda, and it concerns a potential change in our zoning regulations, or to have a moratorium on, to establish a temporary moratorium to prohibit the acceptance, processing, or other action on any application for the establishment of any recreational marijuana production, growing, sales, or distribution facility in any zoning district within the city of Shelton. So what we're asking is whether or not the commission should enact a temporary moratorium. That's what this agenda item would be. Not to put the moratorium in place tonight, it's just to investigate whether or not we should establish it.
And
So
to have a
initially,
public
all right,
hearing.
initially you asked about a public hearing.
Yeah, as we did in 2013, when we had a 9-month temporary moratorium, when medical marijuana was introduced, there was, the procedure is to accept it for review like any other application, and then to set a public hearing so that the public can come in and comment, as a person did in 2014. And then later on, there was discussion afterwards in a following meeting, and then the commission made a decision.
And where is this idea coming from? I'd like to know, why are we,
Recent
where is this
legislative-
coming from? Hmm?
Tony, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there were recent legislative changes that made the town, as of a certain date, makes the town vulnerable to certain types of marijuana activities. And it also gives them the opportunity, if they wish, to declare a temporary moratorium while they figure these things out and decide where, what, and how they want it to happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. I'm hearing you about all that. I understand that, but I'm still not hearing who initiated having this on our agenda. Where did this come from?
That was my initiation.
Okay.
Well, I was as you might remember, a year ago when several statutes were being proposed and there were bills up in Hartford, I had testified via Zoom on public hearings, and this was one of them that came up, and it was eventually signed into law. So the towns have the ability to establish moratoriums, to go over everything and see the impact it would have on their particular community. I did compile and will share with the rest of the commissioners the referrals that we got from Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. There were 22 referrals that I received as part of being on their mailing and email list for different towns that have, starting last May and June, went through the process of establishing moratoriums. And the list is quite extensive. It is from Thomaston all the way down to Derby and over to Orange and up to Newtown and Middlebury, Harwinton. So it's not as if this was not an uncommon kind of occurrence. And this was something that I felt that the commission should address at some point, one way or the other. So, but this is.
So
the one that
Chairwoman,
starts.
is there a reason why we're adding it through this measure to the agenda tonight? Why wouldn't it just be added in a regular fashion with our regular agenda items for a future meeting?
It was overlooked that it should have been on the agenda. And when it came to my attention, and when I look back, by coincidence, back on the meeting That was in June 11th, 2013. Commissioner Parkins was the chair at the time, but she was not able to participate in that meeting that night, and Vice Chair Anthony Pagoda chaired the meeting. And the first item after roll call was the adding of a couple of new agenda items, one of which had to do with, I think it was having to do with parking, spacing, the number of spaces. And then this was another agenda item. So it's not, while it hasn't happened very often in the last couple of years, there have been times where we have added something as an agenda item and then move forward with it. The next action on that wasn't until August 28th when the actual public hearing took place. And it was afterwards that the commission discussed it and then had adopted the moratorium. So having something added to the regular agenda is not uncommon. This is, as I said before, this is not something where we would be deciding all this tonight. You cannot do that because referrals have to be made to the Council of Governments that we are part of, and they come back with a recommendation or at least some comment as to whether or not this would impact to have any intermunicipal impacts. So that's how the process would go. I believe later on in the meeting, Corporation Counsel is planning to attend, and also he would be available to answer any questions.
So it sounds like it's not a motion to fast track it. It's rather
Oh,
a
no.
motion to get it on the
Just
table because
get it
the
to start.
conversations are happening. The lotteries are opened.
Yeah.
So for people to start looking for locations to have these facilities is happening. So
Mhm.
just to kind of, I guess, get out in front of that, I think it would be very interesting and helpful to know what folks feel about it.
Yeah, there's-
Not just the moratorium, but the fact, of having such a facility in the city of Shelton. I think it'd be great for us to hear.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to this. This is something that, what approach do we take? And then unless we have it as a discussion item, we can't discuss it. So this is, as Commissioner Parkins aptly said, it's a way to get the ball rolling to start discussion on it. So, okay,
Well, thank you for that clarification. That's helpful.
yep.
We
All
just-
right, so go ahead, Mr. Panico.
No, I said, it looks like we've just had most of the discussion that would have had happened when it came up on the agenda.
Exactly.
It's essentially just to get the ball started and to fill in everybody as to what, why, and how.
Yeah, and there's some other information I could share later on and when it's under other business. But so right now there's a motion to add that proposal to establish a temporary moratorium as item F under other business. So I have to do a roll call on whether or not to add this as an agenda item. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. So that is the first one. Staff also had, at my request, given me some information to also add a second agenda item. And I would separate this as agenda items G, but just like the new state statute having to do with cannabis establishments, there is a new state statute having to do with accessory apartments being allowed as of right and not on coming to the commission. And in a summary that I received from the Office of Legislative Research, a summary of that public act, which was Public Act 21-29, it states right at the beginning that there is a requirement that municipalities that adopt or amend regulations to allow accessory dwelling units as of right on the same lot as a single family home unless they follow the Act's opt-out process. Part of the Public Act permits towns to opt out of that as of right process by taking a vote, as long as the administrative arm of the city, which would be our Board of Aldermen, also follows that route. It has to be both boards have to be in agreement about that. So again, this would be just to add that agenda item for discussion, for a proposal for the commission to enter into the opt-out process for accessory dwelling units. And again, once it's on the agenda, then I can go into more details that I received from looking into the matter at the state level.
And
So-
would it be your intent, Chairman, would it be your intention that we come to a determination on that tonight?
No, no, no. This is again, just putting it on the agenda to accept for review and set a public hearing. That's all we can do right now. That's because there's notice that has to be given to the other, to the Valley Cogs on this. And from what I understand from the paperwork that I've received from the Valley Cogs, there's only one community that has so far gone along this way. But part of the discussion that I would bring up later on is to the impact that it would have on our community if that was the case, that if we did not do an opt-out. So it's the as of right kind of component of it that is of particular concern to me. As I stated in my comments for the public hearing at the state level, would you like to be the homeowner that comes home one day and sees a building going up in your neighbor's backyard that you had no knowledge of and could not give an opinion on as to whether or not it would be in the best interest of the neighborhood to have that? So there's considerations about density there and your impact on your systems in town. So there's a lot to be
I'm
thought of.
I'm intrigued by that. Are you saying that an accessory dwelling, it's not like a mother-in-law apartment, something within the house or a separate building?
Exactly.
Wait, stop. This has got to stop.
Excuse me. All right. So, Mr. Rossetti, what are you trying to get?
Either
wanna do?
we accept this as other business and we move on to the agenda.
Mhm,
We stop all this discussion. Just put it on the agenda as other business. We'll pick this up later.
mhm. Okay. So, does everybody understand the process? This is just to accept for review and set a public hearing. Set it as another agenda item. It would be agenda item G under other business.
I'll make a motion to accept for review.
I'll second it.
Okay. So, on the motion from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Laskos.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto.
Yeah, but let me just say, it's hard to agree to something we don't understand. That's all.
Yeah, that's why we're
Just trying to get
an
some.
item for us
Yeah.
to talk about.
All right.
This, okay. So, and the chair would vote aye. Okay. Now we can move on to our regular agenda that had been distributed. That we have 3 applications for certificates of zoning compliance. And the first is application 5353, Ram Development, 434 Howe Avenue, for a sign, and the name of the business is Helpful Home. Commissioner Motto, from what I understand, there was a conversation between the members of the zoning subcommittee about the signs.
Yes, with Josh individually, actually, we responded. He sent out all the information to each of us.
Mhm.
And Ruth and I had talked about this as well. And I think this sign, this is pretty much what we had asked them to do as far as this sign goes. I don't see any problem with it.
Okay. So we have bubble tea's already been approved. Mr. Rossetti, could you move the diagram up? Okay, so we have bubble tea, CC Cafe already approved, Polaris crystals in the middle, and this is for the helpful home. Now, there was something about a year ago that the commission did approve, and from what I understand, this is the building was not, but the background, the facade did not have this paint color. So this is a reworking of an existing one that we had approved.
Erwin, if I just may ask, I expressed to Josh, not to Josh, maybe to Alex, I'm not sure at this point, the help home signage in the window, if they could tone it down a little bit by making
That
it
will
black.
be dark blue.
What's that?
They have agreed to make that dark blue.
Okay, that's fine.
Instead of a white, it'll be a dark
No,
blue.
instead of red.
The lettering.
Oh, the lettering. Okay, very good.
Yeah, we can't control, but we can ask,
Yeah,
right? We can't mandate, but we can ask. And I'm glad they agreed. It would soften it a little.
okay.
Good suggestion.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then, so dark blue letters instead of red.
No, on the sign where it says, on the window signage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Harjit, we're gonna put another, are they gonna put another gooseneck for that helpful home?
Oh, good point.
Lighting.
That's a
on
good point.
top.
Mr. Rossetti, do you know anything about that?
Right now, it's out of balance. That's the only reason I'm asking.
Yep.
Looks like they just superimposed the white over the sign that they originally had up there, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brian, are you aware of any such plans? But I would assume Dan,
I'm sorry, plan for what?
to add a third gooseneck above helpful home buyers, just like Polaris Crystal and CC Bubble.
I don't know of a plan to do that. It's not part of our scope of work, but I don't know if Daniel's on the line, he can answer that. I can't imagine they'd have an issue with it, but I can't speak for them.
Looks
Okay,
like-
that would definitely be a separate item. So let's concentrate on just the signage for now. Staff can reach out to the applicant and then report back to the commission as to what they would be doing. So,
Madam Chair, it's Ken. They were informed that the new buildings or remodeled buildings had to have goosenecks included in their signage.
Okay, great.
okay. All right, if staff could confirm that at some point, but does anybody have any questions regarding, for Mr. Vassar, about this particular sign for above the entrance?
No,
Okay,
I don't have any questions.
okay. And nothing on the doors at all? You know,
I think there might be a logo on the door with some hours, but it's already there. It's been there.
okay. All right, so if there aren't any other questions about application 5353, is there anyone that wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Amato has seconded. So on that motion to approve application 5353 from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Amato, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Alaskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
I'm
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The motion is passed 6-0.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too, Mr. Vassar. Okay, the next one is application 5316, 427 Howe Avenue, LLC, for a sign at 427 Howe Avenue for a new restaurant called Chaplin. So is the applicant here at all?
Madam Chairman, it's Ken again. I did meet with them as we were doing an inspection. And I believe the sign committee had wondered about the last title, which says Good Times.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Commissioner Amato if the signs or the zoning subcommittee had any revisions to this. So,
Yeah, Ruth in particular, I think had Well, I questioned that in my own mind anyway. Actually, all the writing.
Mhm.
I think we've had some feelings about writing on awnings. But it doesn't look terrible, but the good times doesn't, I think the regs say something about it. You can put your name, address, the type of business on awnings. I don't know that any of this meets that.
Well, this is a PDD, understand, so you can.
Yeah, so yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of,
Madam Chairman, they did change that upon listening to the sign committee. And
yeah.
they've added a raw bar, so there will be
Oh,
steaks, fish, and a raw bar.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a change from the wording good times to raw bar. Okay. All right. With the applicant not here, is there any other comment, questions that perhaps Mr. Nappy can answer?
Well, I can say that I approached them and they've agreed to having a type of maintenance, a company come in to make sure that the awning has stayed not only in good condition, but clean condition. They wanted to do an upscale type of awning. That we also went over the fire retardant, has been submitted to the fire marshal. It meets that until also the material of it. And
What is the
keeping up-
material? Canvas or,
Yeah, it's a canvas. I think it's a treated type of canvas.
and the color is green or
The color is black.
is black? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like
And
a
it-
dark green on my screen anyhow.
Yeah, me too.
In addition, we sent to them the regulations as to the height that it has to be from the sidewalk, which they've complied with. And the out portion of the awning is only 3 feet.
Mm-hmm. And this is a fixed awning, it's not a roll-up.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions about application 5316?
No.
Okay, is any commissioner want to make a motion on this particular application?
I'll make a motion.
And that's to approve?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second it,
second.
Commissioner Lasko.
Okay, Commissioner Laskos, I heard you first. So on the motion to approve application 5316 from Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Laskos. Do a roll call. Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion has been approved 6-0. All right, the third sign is for application 5369 Mandeville sign, 801 Bridgeport Avenue, Panera Bread. And is there an applicant here in front of us participating?
Yep, just give me 1 second. I'm
Okay.
all in.
So everybody will notice from the material that was handed in, if you looked at it ahead of time, the address is for Fountain Square. And you could see the monument sign, that this would be the first monument sign application for us for that particular project.
Come on. Wendy, if you want to share your screen, or if it helps if I share my screen, just let me know. I've got it pulled up, and
He's on mute.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I just
Wendy, you're on mute.
have-
And once you are unmuted, you need to identify yourself for the record.
Okay.
Okay, you're
Wendy
on.
Regan, Mandeville sign, 676 George Washington Highway, Lincoln, Rhode Island. And I do not have an option to share screen. Unfortunately, I am joining you this evening from my laptop.
Okay, we can share this, put the materials up. Can you see what's on the screen?
I can.
Okay, so why don't you go and walk us through the application?
Panera Bread that was previously reviewed prior to COVID and then went on hold, came back to life not too long ago. There were some minor changes to what had previously been reviewed and approved. It consists of 2 signs, one on each of the 2 elevations. Those are face-lit channel letters spelling out Panera and then bread underneath. That's the Mother Bread logo, also illuminated. And the drive-through plaque with the arrow indicating which way where the location of the drive-through is. The awnings are a solid green Sunbrella fabric. They are fire rated. I believe that they are all a minimum of 8 feet above grade. And the previous rendition of this sign package did include some small copy on each of the awning valances. That has been removed. It is no longer part of the proposal.
Mhm. Okay, so we're looking at an awning sign over the main entrance with the name of the business and the logo. And then there's a directional sign that's ground mounted that would basically be the same thing, but say drive through on it. And what am I missing? Is there another one?
There is a second elevation with identical signage. That would be the southwest elevation.
Okay.
Back up.
So there's.
And then there is if you would go back a couple of pages, I believe it showed the tenant panel and the landlord provided. That's page 13, Alex. The tenant panel to be installed in the landlord provided ground sign.
Yeah, we refer to that as a monument sign.
Okay.
Yeah, the ground sign to me is more the lower one that shows you the entrance to the driveway that goes by the takeout and ordering windows. So where it's positioned on the monument sign, is that at the request of the applicant or is it the request of the landlord?
The panel position was assigned by the landlord.
Okay, very good. All right, and where exactly, what sides of the building? If you, Alex, Mr. Rossetti, if you can scroll down again, could you point out again which sides of the building this is going to be?
The southeast, rather the southwest is the, I am sorry, the southeast is the front. The southwest is the side.
Okay, so which is the, point out which is the one that faces Bridgeport Avenue?
I don't know that you can see me here.
Here.
Bridgeport is here.
Where the arrow is?
Yes.
Okay, was there a second person speaking along with?
It was Commissioner Parkins asking where if the
Yeah.
arrow was pointing where, because I was a little confused on that as well. So
Mhm.
I just question whether drive-through is actually part of their logo because it's on every sign. And I get that you're trying to drive home the fact that you have a drive-through, but I don't think people are that unintelligent that they wouldn't know that there's a drive-through and the drive-through doesn't need to be repeated as many times as being proposed.
Mhm.
Panera Bread feels very strongly that aids not only in advertising the fact that they do in fact have a drive-through, but the way that the chevron is shaped with an arrow, it also serves as a cue to drivers as to which side of the building as they're approaching the site. It aids in keeping control and coordination of on-site traffic circulation.
Mhm.
Who would be accessing the site from the side of the building?
As I understand, there are additional uses beyond us as you circulate through the entire shopping center.
But if you can see the side of the building from that area, you would know that there's a drive-through without there being a directional sign there, I would assume.
You may not know exactly which side of the building. It has been shown through Panera's experience as they were probably one of the last of these, I won't say fast food, fast casual, to roll out a drive-through use as typical for their locations. And they have found that in the locations where it is allowed, it does impact that driver decision when they enter the site. If they choose to if they're there to use the drive-through, it's just another driving queue.
Did that come up in the zoning subcommittee?
I expressed the concern.
Okay.
I just would like to point out the fact that when Panera Bread first started their site plan review prior to going on hold, they did have drive-through plaques as part of their proposal. They were actually larger and they were presented as a separate sign on a separate architectural element. And so we felt, and obviously this is your purview, but we felt that this was a cleaner, smaller approach to getting the signage that they felt was critical to their success at this location.
The package that I reviewed, though, and I believe Elaine as well, had much more signage shown. There's more signage where the ordering station is. There's more signage where the window is. So it's not just these two drive-throughs or three drive-through signs. Am I correct, or has all that been eliminated? So again, from the side of if you're approaching from the side where other facilities or restaurants or hotels may be, it'll be very evident with a kiosk or the drive-through window and whatever menu boards are going to be there. So what else is being proposed beside this that's not being shown right now?
I'm not sure if I understand. Are you asking about additional directional signs on site? There are no window signs. There are no ground signs.
How about the drive-through? You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Wendy, you're stay close to your mic.
Okay, is that better?
How much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there are no window signs.
No, not window signs. Where the menu board is? Do you have the drawing for the menu board?
Yes, it's there. Going.
There you go.
There you go.
So that's on the sign as well, on the side of the building, correct? Or is that in the back of the building?
That is opposite the front entrance, so technically the back of the building. If you, Alex, if you could scroll back to the building facades, and you will see the facade that has the drive-through pickup window.
Yep.
Okay, so. Okay, so the southwest that would be the.
This is identified as the northwest.
No, the northeast is the rear of the building. So
this is the front.
If you're standing on Bridgeport Ave, and please bear with me, I apologize. If you're standing on Bridgeport Ave looking into the site, the drive-through menu system is to the right. So from Bridgeport, you're looking at the shorter main elevation. To the right, the drive-through lane goes on the right side of the building. The menus are on that side of the building, and then the vehicles make the left to come to the drive-through window. If you go to the site plan, Alex, it is called out.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Ruth,
Okay.
did you see the pergola and that previous elevation?
Mhm.
You know, you'll enter in here, here's
Right.
where the
These are the menus.
menu sign, and then that elevation with the pickup window is over here. And so you, the elevations with the Panera Bread, there's one up here with the drive-through logo, and there's one up here with the drive-through logo. And both of those, this one, there's a Panera sign up above, right, you know, kind of where my mouse is. And the drive-through logo is pointing that way, you know, towards this area. And the Panera sign up here with the drive-through logo pointing this way is headed towards the entrance there.
Well, once you hit one drive-through, you know you have to come around this way, wouldn't you? To come out and around?
Yeah,
I think you're right, Ruth. You really don't need the extra sign.
I think it's pretty evident where it is, but
Exactly.
I personally have no problem with that. From a design standpoint, I think it's consistent in all the three
I
places
don't
where
have a
they have
problem
it.
with it, but it's just, it's redundant.
Well,
I'm not, it's not a
Yes.
deal breaker for me. I just
Yeah.
wanted to point out that I don't think people are that directionally challenged that they couldn't find the drive-through for
I
Panera Bread
agree.
in a very small shopping center.
Mhm. Absolutely.
It's not a deal breaker. If nobody else is opposed to it, I have no problem, no issue with it.
So exactly where the line of cars is, the directional sign for the drive-through would be at the end of the first car, at the end of the very last car. Somewhere there, or is it out above it where the parking, that over there, where is it supposed to be?
What directional sign are you referring to, Chairwoman?
Of the one that goes on the ground to show the entrance to the drive-through. That's blurry. So is that what it's saying? That's the sign?
Wendy, can you speak up to that? Is
Yes,
this
I'm
where the-
I'm looking for my site plan here, Alex. Just bear with me.
Actually, I think.
And is that all boxed in, like that dotted line that's around the perimeter of that facility? So like there,
The dotted line is just to show the lease limits within the overall property.
Okay, so.
so how do people
right-
enter? How do people enter that drive-through lane? There,
Right,
it's
that-
showing parking spaces.
No, that's the drive-through lane, Ruth. So if you're driving in, you could come in and make a left here, or you could, come in and make a right. And there's a directional sign here pointing into the drive-through lanes. There's a clearance bar here, which is
So you've got two lanes feeding into one
correct. So there's this
lane.
Yes.
drive-through clearance bar right here, which is going to be located right there.
There is
Okay.
only one lane at this drive-through. It's not a double lane. This would be a bypass for anybody who ends up at the back portion of the lot and for whatever reason would like to circulate around the building.
But to have two entrances to one lane, that you don't think that's going to create traffic issues? I mean, you better hope somebody's going to let you in if you're coming from the other way.
Most fast food restaurants, specifically McDonald's, Burger King, they all have the two lanes just to keep vehicles from backing up sort of into the overall parking area. It's not uncommon. People, like you said, who
I've never seen a drive-through that has two different
regularly.
ways of coming in.
The majority of the
Yeah.
access would be from the front of the restaurant, though. Right.
can we get back to the sign discussion, since that's our agenda item?
that is not just a separate entrance to the drive-through. That's access to the overall shopping center. So there would be vehicles circulating throughout the site.
Okay, so that's where the monument sign is anyways, that says drive-through.
The directional, yes.
Yeah, there's a small directional sign here. There's the drive-through and kind of overhang bar here, the menu board here, and the pickup window here. There are no large Panera signs on the side of the building on this side or on this side. There are two large, the logo signs with the drive-through up above here and here.
Mr. Rossetti, I think one of the pages that we didn't see is the one in the bottom right corner says 51023.12. Because keep going. Keep going. That one, if you could shrink that. So those are the directional signs.
Correct.
Yeah, but on the side that you don't see, that's where Panera wants to have their name, their logo, and the word drive-through as well.
On the front and the side, yes.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a little bit of overkill. I think it's just sufficient to say drive-through. I think from the colors of the overall building and the directional sign down below, they could pick up, this is the entrance to the Panera drive-through lane. So
I didn't follow you. They only say drive-through. Are you suggesting that they have Panera bread and a logo?
No.
yeah, look on sheet 51023.3. It shows the side elevation, and down below it, it says there's a sign that's 29 inches high and it's 221 inches long. And
The
on the
building
right,
sign.
no, that's the building sign. Okay. Okay, that's just okay, got it. All right.
Yes, that is the larger detail of the building sign.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. Got it. Okay. All right, so what's the consensus of the commission? Is there anyone that would like to make a motion on this particular application 5369 as is with changes?
I'll make a motion to approve as is.
Okay, there's a motion to approve as is.
I'll
from
second it. Commissioner
Commissioner
Laskos.
Motto, seconded by Commissioner Laskos. Any final discussion on this? Okay, hearing none on the motion to approve as is made by Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Laskos. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to approve has been approved by motion, vote of 6-0. Okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you all very much for your patience. Have a wonderful evening.
you
You
too.
too.
Mr. Rossetti, just if you could reach out to the landlord. We are always supposed to get a coordinated overall sign package so that we're not running into what we've run into before in other parts of the town.
Good afternoon, this is Wendy speaking.
Wendy, you're on, you're still connected. Okay. All right, so going into old business, application 20-22 Riverview Park Royal. Dominic Thomas for Canal Properties LLC, 113 and 123 Canal Street, Assessors Map 130, lots 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Petitioning for a special exception on 2.57 acres in the Riverfront District. The proposal is for a 5-story mixed-use building with 11,000 square feet of retail commercial space on the first floor and 92 studio, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments with on-site parking. Just a reminder, we accepted this for review in December 8th, 2020. It was withdrawn on January 27th, 2021, resubmitted and accepted for review on June 8th of 2021. We had a public hearing opened on July, and we heard from the applicant. We continued the public hearing. The next session was August 17th and September 22nd. We continued it both times. At the October 27th meeting, the commission was informed that Inland Wetlands approved the applicant's project on October 21st. And the commission also was informed that the city's engineer was waiting for structural engineering report for the revised garage elevation. And the commission again continued the public hearing. On November 17th, the commission was informed that the city engineer was finishing his project report, would be reviewing the applicant's proposed structural report to cap the open area of the property. Attorney Thomas, the applicant's attorney, informed the commission that the project would be exempt from Deep's water diversion permit requirement. And due to the structural report that had just been filed, Attorney Thomas requested the application be tabled, and the commission voted to do so. The last meeting with this on the agenda was January 19th, 2022. And Attorney Thomas indicated the structural engineering report had been completed. He commented on parking and non-occupancy below the floodplain and the operation of the elevator if water is detected. Attorney Thomas also answered questions about capping Bering Ground Brook and the number of parking spaces being provided, which exceeded the requirement for the number of units. And Mr. Panico indicated up to 50% of the residential parking could be credited towards the non-residential parking, meaning the first floor commercial. I had asked whether or not the height requirement was compliant with the commission zoning regulations, and Attorney Thomas indicated it was 61 feet to the midpoint of the roof. And Mr. Panico indicated that zoning regulations for our riverfront district zone have a 60-foot height limitation, and zoning regulations define the height of the building as to the highest part of the roof. And I requested that the applicant propose something to resolve the height issue. Mr. Getz then addressed the commission, indicated a decrease in the number of units would present a hardship and cost. The site is not fully remediated, and he would work with staff to come up with an affordable housing count that made economic sense for everyone. So how do the commissioners want to proceed with this application, and what kind of concerns do you have? This is the time to discuss anything and anything about this particular application. Anybody that wants to weigh in?
Didn't Tony Panico indicate that we have some discretion on that roof height, depending on it being considered an architectural feature of the design?
Okay.
I had initiated that because I had indicated that the eave line appeared to be within the permitted heights, and he could theoretically eliminate the gabled roof, put a flat roof on it, and be compliant. And that's when the commissioner became concerned that the architectural aesthetics of the roof far outweighed the height consideration, and they felt that it was within their jurisdiction to allow the excessive height up to 75 feet. As with the door was opened somewhat by that paragraph 30, I forget the exact number, but the regulation paragraph on height.
And our interpretation of that.
And your interpretation was that you could allow it because obviously the commission preferred the gable roof treatment rather than a flat roof.
That's correct.
I would agree with that. And I think talking about having them give up a whole floor is unreasonable in terms of, the project success, I think.
I agree. It's architecturally pleasing to look at.
So the aesthetics of the gabled roof superseding the height of what called for in the regulations would be more important than.
It's only a foot over, right? So
Well, it's not really superseding, it's our interpretation of what the regs outline. It's not clearly stated that such, it's our interpretation of the regulations and the fact that we prefer the gabled roof.
It's a very difficult building to analyze in the sense of height, because under your zoning regulations, it refers to height from the average elevation of the building, and it becomes difficult. What is the average ground elevation around the building?
Mhm.
sidewalk in the front, it's within code. In the
Mhm.
back, however, the property drops so that you get access to the lower levels for parking, and that's the way the topography runs anyway. And now it becomes excessively above your permitted heights. So in searching around and as the applicant explained, he sought relief because he felt that there was judgment. And when we looked at the paragraph in the regulation, you could, I suppose, bear upon that. If the project does move favorably and we write it up, we're going to have to spend some time clarifying the commission's position so it doesn't become precedent setting for you.
Yeah, good
Mhm.
point.
Right.
Mhm. Okay.
There is a lot of discomfort. I noted discomfort with the commission, some commissioners, about the height of the building as it relates to the river walk and the river itself.
Mhm.
And it is tall. We
Mhm.
can-
Okay. Anybody else like to weigh in on this? Commissioner Tiki, Commissioner Lascos? Who else is here?
I think I voiced my concerns more over the engineering report. And
Mhm.
that when we do write up our approval, that some of those points are covered. I know some of them were of a bigger concern to me than a roof height.
Mhm.
In
Okay.
reference to that, Commissioner Laskus, as was pointed out, and with some justification, we are at the basic development plan stage, and it has to come back for detailed development plan approval. And the applicant's attorney alleged that all of the final detail engineering concerns would be addressed during the interim design phase.
Tony, this is a special exception, not a PDD, so they don't have to come back for final detailed development.
Yes, you're right, but in this case, it probably will come back because what we will be granting is a conditional approval. And one of the conditions will have to be the proper satisfaction of those engineering concerns.
But doesn't everything have to go through the town as far as approvals and so on and so forth through the town engineering and building and
Yeah,
building departments, so on and so forth?
yes.
I mean, that's not our job, is it? I didn't think that was our job.
No, we would not act without city engineers.
Right, right.
He will not get final approval from you folks without city engineer approval. So what we would need to do if it receives a favorable decision is to stipulate that no final action, no final decision. That would be a condition of approval, that he
Right.
satisfy the city engineer's requirements
Okay, fine.
and address all of his engineering concerns.
Mhm. Okay.
The only thing I would like is to just maintain that whatever is used as far as mixed use, the square footage of retail and commercial space remains.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't get changed, it remains.
Mhm.
I would also like to see, I know in the minutes it reflects 8 or 9 units for affordable. I'd like to see the full 9 units because that would be 10% of the apartment base. And I think that should be a minimum requirement for us going forward is 10% of any approved, of any apartment proposals should be 10% set aside
Mhm.
at a minimum. I'd like to see it 20%, but
Yeah, I'd like to see a mix of apartments as well. It's only offering the studios, and I think that
Well,
we don't really have a clout on that. What's that?
we need to figure out how to address that. The applicant represented that he's not obligated to that.
Well, I don't
Right.
think we have any way to make him do it, so.
well, I did ask for clarification from staff to find out if that is part of the state statute
Well,
or
the
830G, if that's allowed.
applicant represented at the public hearing.
Correct.
that This is voluntary affordable and therefore they do not allow, but
Correct. But my question was whether that's, and I certainly understand that he put that forth, but I just wanted to make sure that that is the requirement when you set something aside as affordable, if you can dictate only one style apartment. I was just looking for clarification on that, and I have not gotten it yet.
Even if the applicant is correct in that he's not obligated under state law, if that's a concern of the commission and they want that concern addressed, then we can stipulate it as part of your action.
Okay,
We can, and then he can just say, I'm not doing any affordable units, I
Then-
guess. Is that correct?
The commission can say, without the affordable, you don't have an approval.
Hmm.
That's the bottom line.
Hey, Ruth, go for that 20%.
But also the stipulation, Mr. Panico, can it be stated as such that it has to be not all one style of residential unit?
If that's what the commission is influenced by in terms of making its decision, then certainly we can state it.
I would like to see that personally.
Mhm.
I think the intent of that affordable housing regulation is to have these, not to have people kind of warehoused in distinguishable inferior housing.
But on the other hand, the affordable component is supposed to be for public servants, right? So say your firemen, your policemen, your nurses, your doctors. And so typically, you know, the affordable unit, if they need to have an affordable unit because of their income, they're probably going to be living by themselves, right? So if they have a partner or a spouse, then they need a larger apartment. Their obviously income level is going to be higher. So I don't really,
I don't
as much
know.
as I don't really like it, it wouldn't be a deal breaker to me if he does, if he's not agreeable to it. So I'm just throwing
Well,
that out.
I mean, nobody's going to agree to it if they don't have to, because it's money. And anybody in business is going to want to maximize, you know, what they're getting, because it's always a risk. Any business like that is risky. So it's reasonable to, opt to maximize what you can do on a particular project. But
There's a lot of ways of attacking the affordable housing component beyond this project.
Sure.
And I think the commission's position could be that normally on this site, you might allow X number of units, but as long as he's putting in affordable, you allow him a higher density.
So it's makeup time.
Yeah. So, you're not taking anything away from anybody.
But he can't really make it any more dense than it is. Can't make it taller. He can't take up more of a footprint here.
Certainly could have made it less dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, this commission could have lessened it because of the height issue, but instead it's standing as is. So, if we're going to talk about having affordable, it should be in the regs and it should be then asking a certain amount.
So maybe
He's
do
getting what he
six,
came in with.
maybe do 6.3.
6
Studios and three.
studios and
And 3 one
3
bedrooms.
one-bedrooms.
Well, I think staff still needs to present the findings of whether or not this is, the type of residential unit is addressed in state statute once and for all, so that we know. It came up once before.
Well, I guess that's the first step that needs to be taken so that we know where we're coming from.
Right.
Are we going through this process as a result of a requirement in the statutes? Or if it's not there, then when it's a requirement that the commission wishes to impose. We'll have to make that, we'll have to get that determination first out of the statutes and then see where we go from there.
Okay.
So, but at least we know we're looking for 9 units, right?
Yes.
10%.
All right, so are we at a point where we can indicate to staff to prepare a resolution?
Sounds like we're not, because we're still asking for clarification about the issue.
Okay. So is there,
I could attempt to do is to try to take some of these contentious points and see if I can get something down in writing so that you can look at something and say, if we were going to do it, this is the kind of language we would put in,
Okay,
and see if that's satisfactory. Because I suspect if we simply went from tonight to a written decision, we may be making a lot of changes in that written decision that night.
mhm. Okay, oh, Mr. Rossetti, what's our time frame on this? With so many days after closing the public hearing?
For taking action or for, I'm not quite sure what you mean by what's our timeline.
Was, is to.
We're
when the-
required to make a decision within
Decision.
65
Have a
days
vote.
close to the public hearing.
Mhm.
That's okay. I see. I believe we have 60 days,
65?
65, and that's including an extension.
No,
No, that's without an extension.
5 straight.
we closed the public hearing on the 19th
Of January.
January. So theoretically, 60 days from the 19th of January, we should have
In March.
made a decision unless we get an extension.
Yeah, so then are we going, it's gonna be a motion then to continue discussion on this particular agenda item?
So I guess we should probably vet out, is that the only discussion, further discussion we have, right? Before we move on.
Is that the, I think Mr. Panico's proposal to come up with something for review by the commission is a good way to go. To get make sure that we're all on the same page. There are things that could occur to us later on that would be, to prevent us from the night of the actual vote later on would mean that would be less changes that would have to be implemented. So,
Well, do we
One
have a
thing
consensus
Okay.
about 9 unit? We do about 9 units, but do we have a consensus about having them be a variety of units?
I think that it should be myself. Commissioner Motter, you indicated that. Commissioner Lascos, what's your feeling on that? Is it,
I'm fine with them being the studios because in this discussion, it sounded like it was agreeable.
Mhm.
I know with other developments, we've had stipulated that they be the mix of what they're offering.
mhm. Okay,
Yeah, I think we need some clarification, but I'm agreeable with Mr. Panico going forward with a favorable approval with stipulations. It's just
mhm.
height and some of the other issues.
Okay. Commissioner Tiggy, how about you? Looking for studios overall or mixed?
I'd like to see a mix
Mm-hmm.
so that there's some housing options for folks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Commissioner Kelly?
I think a mix would be great too, because then you can do percentages, how many how many studios did you have, a percentage of that?
Mhm.
2-bedroom, 1-bedroom percentages of that. And that would make it fair to my.
Okay, it's part of my comments when I was going over the history of this was that Mr. Goetz indicated he would work with staff to come up with an affordable housing count that makes economic sense for everyone. So hopefully this implementing a mixed variety would still create economic sense for everyone. So. All
So
right.
he indicated that he would work with staff, but at what
Right.
point? After approval or before approval?
That's a very good point.
I don't think staff should be put in that position. I think the commission should dictate
Mhm.
what he has to do.
Well, seeing that the public hearing is closed,
Mhm.
we can't communicate with him any longer
Right.
directly.
You make
So-
your decision and he accepts it or rejects it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would say, Commissioner Ticky made a good point that we are bending on the height
Mhm.
question, which gives him a whole extra floor of apartments.
Mhm.
just as something to mention.
Mhm. Okay,
My other concern is that it would set precedent to just let them have the lowest one and what's gonna
Exactly.
stop
And
other.
we did demand that of, what was it, Petromont? We did have a lengthy discussion, and that's
Mhm.
what we asked them to do. And I think, yeah, you're right, setting a precedent that it's just not the way we want to go in terms of developing more affordable housing.
Until we have a regulation that stipulates that there has to be affordable housing component.
yeah,
Apartments.
Yeah.
going forward.
We have essentially three somewhat complex issues to resolve, and that's why I want to get them down on paper. The issue of the affordable housing and its distribution, the height issue, and what was that other one? Oh, the engineering issue.
Mhm.
Those are the three major issues that we have to be sure that they're dealt with properly.
Okay. Well, will there be anybody opposed to Mr. Panico developing some kind of language for us to review at a future meeting to decide, and then we can take it from there as to whether or not we're in agreement to go forward with a resolution, a formal
I think it's a
resolution.
good idea.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay. So this will just then, we don't need as far as I can tell, we don't need another, any kind of motion or anything, but we have had, I think, a consensus for Mr. Panico to go along that way and for this to be on an agenda of a future meeting. So any opposition to that?
We just
Sounds
have to
good.
be sure that we have enough time to get it on a meeting, agree or disagree with it, and get a decision made and get that
Mhm.
decision written up.
Right, well, if we have to ask for an extension, we will.
Okay.
That's open to, that's something that we're open to. It's available to us, so, okay. All right, so that is old business item A. Moving on to old business item B, application 2126 Dogtopia. Schiller Management LLC at 850 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 18, Lot 23, petitioning for major modification of PDD number 2 to amend the statement of uses and standards to permit dog care services, including but not limited to daycare, grooming, training, and overnight boarding. We had our public hearing opened and closed on January 19th, 2022. We heard specifics of the proposal from the applicants, and that included the size of the space to be leased, the operating hours, which were 7 to 7, 7 days a week, staffing, the interior layout, overnight boarding, curbside drop-off and pickup of animals, and the HVAC system. The applicant indicated signage would be submitted after a final sign design had been determined. So how do commissioners feel about this particular application? And how do you want to proceed? I can start off myself by saying for the last 7 years, being a pretty consistent user of dog services, I have no problem with a service coming into town like we have in about 4 or 5 other locations to do dog grooming, but it's going beyond that. I have some definite concerns about overnight boarding. I would not be interested in that. I don't believe this is the type of location for that particular kind of use. Training isn't too bad. Daycare can tend to get out of hand if their facility cannot accommodate the number of dogs that could be accommodated. The facility I'm very familiar with in another part of the state has a very large indoor and outdoor facility. They have a number of dogs that they take, and it can get a little crazy. So I would be concerned about seeing that everything would have to be inside as to being able to accommodate the clientele, and also maybe the noise. You're right next door to a restaurant, and not that far away is Staples. So I'd be a little concerned about dogs barking And, this is in the category of a major modification. So way back when, would this have been something that they would have included right from the start? I don't think so. It wasn't, first of all, I don't even think it was on anybody's radar that dog services would be as popular as they are. But that's the kind of concern that I have. The dog grooming is no big deal for me, but the other things more so, for sure.
How far, what restaurant, how far is what restaurant are you referring
It's
to?
the Domino's right next door that opened up.
It's in, next to Staples?
Yeah, they share a common wall to the right of
Oh,
the old Panera. It's
Right next to it.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look down their paperwork, their diagrams, you could see they have a common wall. So,
They made a big issue of the soundproofing that they used, but I didn't think we could have gone on a little field trip to see how it sounds in Milford. There's one there, apparently not theirs, but same franchise and probably the same standards.
yeah.
I know the place I used to take my dog to in Milford, you could hear those dogs down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. I mean, is there a need for something like this in town? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It would over very well.
It'll be very popular.
Prefer.
And I guess that the landlord is not concerned about Panera, or rather the pizza place, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Is that mostly a takeout pizza?
I haven't gone in there myself.
Really.
It's mostly takeout. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they had a
Yes.
couple tables inside.
Take out and delivery.
Yeah.
yeah.
You folks with the dogs, how critical is outside space to an operation like this?
Well, you know what? In my experience, that is like a real nice amenity for a dog to be able to be running around outside. And this is not just loose. This is in a secured, fenced-in, large area. It's just, and they can do it in this particular facility. And there's pictures of them even last week with the snow, with a lot of the bigger dogs out there running around, sticking their noses in the snow, loving it, rolling in it. So,
But if the customers don't care, I mean, if that's a problem for customers, they won't go there.
right. Yeah. And if
But I do think once we approve the use, they'll be back and asking us for an outdoor facility.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee that's going to happen.
And then we'll have to
I asked
really
the
think about
question,
the noise. I
There's
think,
no
more so.
site space for that.
No, there isn't. There's none
No,
at all.
Yeah.
Well, they could take that side parking out where right now they have the drop-off location and they could turn that into an outdoor facility. They could.
With some adjustments they could, and that would be up to the landlord to have to work with them as to whether or not that's something that he would care to do. So.
And they'd have to come back to us anyway for any extension like that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
any change from what had been previously approved, if it is. So.
How about the volume of dogs within the facility?
That's-
They're talking about over 100 dogs.
Yeah, that's a concern to me. That's
a lot.
Well,
really,
they
my
at least apparently you can't, they only allow X number that I guess they have experience with. Now I had, again, my own place I used to take my dog, they had no limit.
Mm-hmm.
So once you were signed up, you could just show up any day of the week without pre-registering, so they might have had more of a problem with excess numbers on certain occasions. They always claimed it was not a problem and they could absorb all the dogs, and they did. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
One
this
of the
place-
things in looking at one of the site plans was, and I meant to bring this up, and I don't know if staff can reach out to the applicant for clarification, but their overnight boarding, where exactly in the facility is that going to be? It seemed as if there were squares set up along the exterior.
it's the playroom. It's the two
Yeah.
playrooms they convert into a kennel
Yeah,
with cages for overnight. It's the same
I think-
cages that they sleep in for nap time. is
Yep.
where they'll be penned up at night.
Yeah, the cages are on the exterior
Yeah.
and they can use them during the day. Some dogs want to go in a cage and they like it. It's their den and they feel safe there. But I don't know if it's a little different from what I,
Did it concern the commission at all that there's no on-site supervision for a certain number of hours?
Oh,
12
yeah,
hours.
absolutely.
overnight. Oh, yeah.
I think I think that's more of a concern for a customer who's
Yeah.
gonna consider boarding there.
Yeah, if they want to take
I
that.
wouldn't be too happy with that myself.
Mhm.
But I guess if the dogs are locked up and they're not loose and likely to get into little discussions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No, they would be all sequestered in their
yeah,
kennels.
I don't
So,
know. It seemed strange to me, but I think let the buyer beware, I guess.
yeah, for a certain amount of it. So Commissioners Laskos and Tiki, do you have any comments?
I think their presentation covered all these issues that everyone's bringing up. And you know, their presentation mentioned how many sites they have around the country. So it sounded like quite a
19.
bit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's an issue. Domino's did not come to present at the public hearing, so I don't think that should be our concern.
You're right.
That's true.
That's true. That's very valid. No comment from Domino's. So any comments from Commissioner Tiki?
I would agree with Commissioner Maddow. Domino's is largely running food out and they're delivering food. And, you know, they have to come back to us if they wanted to take any further steps in adding any green space, and we can take that up and, you know, if we don't agree with that, we can take that up at that time. They know what they're getting right now, which is for, you know, the internal use of that space. And it clearly is a model that has worked for them in a lot of other places. And I agree with Commissioner Maddow's comments about, you know, customers then making that determination if they want to, you know, bring their dog there.
Right. Okay. What about all the potential uses that they have on their as paperwork? Dog care services, including but not limited to daycare, grooming, training, and overnight boarding. Are we looking to give them permission for all those uses or what?
I mean, as a customer potential, I'd say
You have to.
want to be able to have all those things.
That's
Sure.
their model, right?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
those are often bundled together. I have no problem, especially with the training or the grooming. I mean, those are needed services for dogs, and that we've got that in a couple other places in town, a couple other you know, buildings where they train dogs and do daycares.
Yeah, there's one up in Huntington, particular. So, okay, so what's the consensus of the commission is to ask staff for a favorable.
That would be my recommendation.
Anybody against that? Yeah, my concern is, as I stated before, is the overnight boarding. I don't think it's an appropriate location. And the definitely the not coming back with a outside, looking for outside kind of play area later on.
I'm just trying to recall, what was their answer to when dogs do need to go outside? Are they doing it outside, or are they making arrangements internally for the overnight boarding?
You mean to do their business?
Yes.
Internally.
No, it's all done
It's
internally.
Gotcha.
Yeah. and
So they have a business model for this, where they have this in other locations where they, you know, because you also want to avoid, you know, dogs being walked up and down, you know, a busy street.
Yeah, no, their staff is apparently trained to keep on top of things. So if something happens inside, which will happen, they immediately gets cleaned up.
I'm not a dog owner, but it seems like an awful long time to leave a dog cage 12 hours from 7 to 7. Again, I'm not a dog owner, so I really can't speak to it, but just from a outsider, I think 7 to 7 is a long time to keep dogs crated without being able to relieve themselves. So
Did they-
obviously, they're going to
Did they
relieve.
have staff there? I thought they had staff in the building after like till 10 or something like
Till
that.
10, yes. That's
Oh,
what-
so it's just
Yeah.
7 to
Well,
7 for the
Yeah, the
daycare.
lobby
Okay.
closes at 7.
Yeah, like you couldn't pick up your dog after 7 if you were just there for the day, but
Mhm.
they had staff there, I think, through the evening.
Yeah.
I-
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think it was clear as to what is that the staff expected to do after 7 PM. Are they letting dogs out to run around, or are they cleaning, or they're?
Well, they're probably just the boarding, it's just the ones that are boarding, which would be a minor number probably. They're probably getting them settled.
So they have 3 hours to feed them, let them relieve
Yeah.
themselves, put them to bed.
Yeah,
Tuck them in.
tuck them in.
Okay, as long, I feel better knowing that there's somebody there at least till later, because I'm thinking 12 hours is a long time to be in a crate.
You are right, Ruth.
Mhm.
You should maybe have a dog. Be a good
Mhm.
dog mama.
Okay. All right, so there's consensus for staff to prepare a favorable resolution with all of the uses that they put in their application as being permitted.
I would say so. Yeah, I
Okay,
agree with that.
if not, speak up.
Yes.
Okay.
We're okay.
All right, so Mr. Rossetti, Mr. Pianico, do you need any further information from the commission before proceeding?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
That, if I don't know about something, I'll write it up and we'll change it.
okay. All right. All right, next is new business. And the first agenda item is application 2201. Tribal Realty LLC at 475 to 501 Howe Avenue, Assessor's Map 129D, lots 32 and 33 for a special exception in a CA3 zone for 6 apartments with on-site parking. Is there a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing?
Make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Ticky.
Thank you. So on the motion to accept application 2201 for review from Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Ticky, for staff to do a set of public hearing. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos. Commissioner Laskos, you're on mute. Okay, I'll hold off on Commissioner Laskos, and chair votes aye. Commissioner Laskos, okay, he might have stepped away, so the motion has passed.
Sorry.
It's okay. The motion has passed 5-0. Okay, next agenda item is application 2202, Moss Property Zone Change, City of Shelton at Constitution Boulevard North, Assessors Map 104, lots 25 to 32, Map 105, lots 7, 9, and 11 for a zone change and text amendments in an R1 zone and PDD number 11 to IA-1. Is there a motion to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, it's a motion from Commissioner Motto. Is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Okay, so on the motion from Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Parkins to accept for review and for staff to set a public hearing. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Kelly, you're on mute.
We're dropping like flies here.
No, he's on mute.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion has passed 6-0. Next is public portion. Ms. Rossetti, is there anybody from the public portion who wishes to speak?
Don't believe so, but there's a couple people here. If there's anyone in the public or any of the attendees that would like to speak up about something not on the agenda, please raise your hand through the Zoom function now. Going once, going twice.
Okay, last opportunity for anybody from the public who wishes to speak. Please raise your hand using the Zoom function. Okay. All right, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make that motion, close the public portion.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and on roll call, Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, so moving on to other business. We have three releases, three separate bond releases. The first is for release of a 75,000 performance bond and a 5,000 soil erosion control bond for Cedar Village 2. Mr. Rossetti, what would you like to share with the commission about this?
So the first bond, as you've noticed, is for Cedar Village Phase 2. I'm sure you hope, or I hope you've all seen that it's fully completed. All of the performance and maintenance work that the city's asked for is done, so we'd like to release the funds.
Any questions for Mr. Rossetti? That particular building, I think occupancy went so fast, we didn't have the ability to go in and look at any of the interior apartments, but the Mr. Stanzel has indicated that if anyone wants to see how they set up the parking and the connection to the other parking lot, he'd be more than happy to show people through. All right, so is there a motion to approve or deny the release of the performance and soil erosion control bonds for Cedar Village 2?
Make a
Motion to approve. I'll second Commissioner Tiki.
Okay, so this is a motion to approve the release from Commissioner Kelly, seconded from Commissioner Tiki. So the roll call, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and Commissioner Motto.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. The next is a $10,000 performance bond for 493 Bridgeport Avenue. Mr. Rossetti, would you like to share with the commission?
This bond was posted many, many years ago for a project that never happened, has never moved forward.
Really?
And the applicant has asked to have his money back.
Okay. All right, so is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve or deny the release of the performance bond?
What was that project, if I may ask?
The project was, I had a feeling somebody was gonna ask, so I pulled it up.
Was it that gas station across from Wendy's?
You got it. It's this gas station here, this
Yep.
little parcel.
Yep.
In front of Woodland
That's
Park, yep.
Got a
Yep.
bunch of issues on it. And
okay.
so this piece here, this is a piece of property and it's tied in with a PDD to this piece of property. We
Okay.
have the same PDD for two different parcels.
Hmm.
I don't know what commission came up with that idea, but
Mhm.
this could,
Different strokes for different folks.
that's right. So
Okay.
that's the project.
There was a reason,
Yeah.
you know, why
Get rid of
there
it.
there was a reason. So it was tied, I believe, if I recall, it was a while ago, but I believe it was tied to the condition that there would not be a gas station put on the other lot,
Mhm.
Yep. You're
Yep.
spot on.
which was, would have been allowed, but they agreed to not. So that's why that happened. So, all right, I'll make that motion, Commissioner
Okay.
Archer, if you're there.
All right, so that's a motion to approve from Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second from Commissioner Motto. So on the motion made by Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Motto to release the performance bond for 493 Bridgeport Avenue in the amount of $10,000. I'll do roll call. Commissioner Laskos,
Question,
is there a question?
yes, I have a question.
Mr. Panico, go ahead.
The timing of the approval of that site for which that $10,000 bond was to apply, has it exceeded the limit so that the development plans are no longer valid?
Yes.
Good question.
I think we should make a note in the record that that's the reason for releasing the bond.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that work cannot resume there without a bond.
Correct. Since the site plan is no longer valid, the bond is no longer necessary.
Okay. So Commissioner Parkins, do you want to amend your approval to include the statement along that line?
Yes, please.
Okay. And
You
that's,
don't want me to repeat it, do you?
but it would be a statement that the bond is being released because development plans have expired. The timing for the development plans have expired. Is that sufficient, Mr. Panico, you think?
It is.
Okay. All right. So Commissioner Motto, you still want to second that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And so we'll start again with the roll call. Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion has passed 6-0. All right, and the last is for release of a $37,100 performance bond and a $5,000 soil erosion control bond for Bridge Street Commons 2. Mr. Rossetti.
Hopefully you've also seen this one too, down on Howe Avenue. This is where the Chaplin Restaurant is located. That whole building is complete. The necessary work around the site is done.
All the landscaping and such. Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Rossetti from the commission? Okay, is there a motion to approve or deny the release of the performance bond and the soil erosion control bonds?
I'll make a motion to release. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Make
All
a
right.
motion to approve the release of the performance and soil erosion bonds.
Okay, is there a
Bridge Street
second?
Commons.
I'll second.
Okay, all right, so on the motion to approve the release of the $37,100 performance bond and $5,000 soil and erosion control bond for Bridge Street Commons 2, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion's passed 6-0. Next is comments from the chair and subcommittee chairs. There was an SPZC meeting this morning. Indications are that once the Star Pin site has been totally remediated, a proposal to the Planning and Zoning Commission would be forthcoming. That would call for a new mixed-use building to be erected using the same footprint as the original building. And further down Canal Street, the Ascom Hassler property is reportedly going to be under new ownership. And at some point, plans for the use of that property would be submitted. And finally, the SPZC committee that had been working on restoration of the canal lock is almost ready to submit a proposal to the mayor. Commissioner Parkins, is there anything that you'd like to add from this morning's meeting?
No, I think you touched on the highlights.
Very good, thank you. The Commissioner Kelly, do you have any comments from the Downtown Subcommittee?
No, I'm just gonna say that, we still have a lot of activity in the downtown area. And I think most of the shops and the restaurants, they're doing well with all the residents moving in. And I know Mr. Nappy is also working with the developers and also the amenities such as a trolley and whatnot that will be probably later on in the spring and the summer, unless Mr. Nappy has something to add.
I'll call him in order. I'll continue, if that's it, with Commissioner Motto and the zoning subcommittee. Any comments?
No.
Okay. And now staff comments. Mr. Rossetti, you have any comments in general?
I do not.
No?
Nope. Nope.
No,
Wait a
okay.
minute, he's coming on. Is he?
No, we're not ready yet. Okay, so no comments from Mr. Rossetti. Mr. Nappi, do you have any comments regarding
No,
downtown?
I'm all set.
development?
The next project to be started was the old donut shop parcel,
Yep.
which has recently been fenced off. Perry Pettis is the applicant, and Don Stanziel is the construction manager. And from our
Right.
information, that should be starting soon.
Very good. Okay. Mr. Panico, do you have any comments for us this evening?
No, we've covered quite a bit of ground here.
That's for sure.
Chairwoman, just a point of order.
Yes.
You added 2 new items to the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Are we?
Yeah, those are items F and G.
Oh, under other business. I thought you were putting them under new business. My error.
Yeah, no, I thought that's where they would have gone to, but staff asked for them to be under other business. Okay, so that's all our staff comments, and we have a notation on the agenda that the January 26, 2022 minutes are available for review on the city's website, and they'll be on an agenda of an upcoming meeting for approval. Next is the minutes for approval of the January 19th, 2022 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or changes for the January 19th minutes? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the January 19th minutes as submitted?
I'll make that motion to approval.
Okay, motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Thank
Second.
you. Okay, so on the motion to approve January 19th made by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Parkins. Go Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. All right, so on the first of the 2 items that were added onto this evening's agenda, and I'd like to identify that Corporation Counsel Teodoso is with us this evening. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, this is a proposal of the Planning and Zoning Commission to establish a temporary moratorium. So to prohibit the acceptance, processing, or other action on any application for the establishment of any recreational marijuana production, growing, sales, or distribution facility in any zoning district within the city of Shelton. So Attorney Teodoso, can you speak to the moratorium process and do you have any, I can give some background on the state statute, but what do you want to share with the commission?
Well, the commission makes the decision with regard to what it's going to do substantively about the topic. My purpose is to explain to you what the substance has to have in it and what the process needs to be. I think all of you have been involved in public hearings for changes in zoning regulations. Essentially, a moratorium is the same thing. It's considered a temporary or a permanent change in the zoning regulations, and you need to get ready for it in the same fashion. It needs to be published, noticed, public hearing, basis for a decision, and then publication afterwards. As far as the topic itself is concerned, if you're doing the moratorium that the commissioner is alluding to, there is a lot of language that has been proposed by the local COG organization, which is very good. It has definitions, and some of the surrounding communities have already done it. What I would say to you with regard to the moratorium itself is that it has to be reasonable in scope, reasonable in purpose, and defined in such a way so that third parties can understand what you're doing.
Mhm. Okay. And so is the process this evening that we take a vote to refer it to the zoning subcommittee? Or for them to come up with a proposal? One
That
way or
would be,
another?
that would be my suggestion. You could get the clarity that you need then for the commission
Mm-hmm,
and then bring it to a public hearing.
mm-hmm. Okay, so they would, go ahead, Mr. Panico?
I just wanted to ask Fran about the length of the moratorium. It has to have a particular cutoff time, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so, and that would be a recommendation from the zoning subcommittee as well?
It would. I believe that there's a date in the statute that was provided, or the passed, I should say,
Mhm.
that you can't go beyond. And I want to say,
Moratorium. I'm sorry. The moratoriums that we did in the past had a reason for it, which was to allow the commission time to prepare appropriate regulations. Therefore, it has a termination date, and I would assume that's probably what our approach would be this time around with these modified facilities.
that's correct. And that outline is pretty much in the general statute that was passed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a new state statute that went into effect. And part of that statute allowed municipalities to prohibit the siting of any cannabis business in its town by holding a townwide referendum, but we did not take, the city did not go that route. We did not conduct a referendum. So, right, if you have been keeping up with the news, licenses to permit cannabis establishments are now being offered by the state. You have to apply. There's a lottery. There's apparently quite a lot that goes into it. So this is just for us to get a good handle on everything that's involved and to decide what direction does the city of Shelton want to go with regulating, if necessary, cannabis establishments. So it'll be up to the zoning subcommittee to meet on this, and it'll be up to staff to make referrals to the COGs that are connected to us. Is there anything else, Attorney Tiedoso, that we would need to be aware of?
The statute's very complicated. If the subcommittee would like my presence, I would attend.
I would strongly
Please.
That would be helpful.
take advantage
I'd
of.
also like to ask, I don't know if I just misunderstood, but the purpose of the purpose of the moratorium is to allow the commission to develop regulations to oppose or to not permit such facilities. Did I understand that?
No, I never said anything about not permitting.
No, I thought Tony said
Yeah.
that was the purpose of the moratorium. What is the purpose of the moratorium? To give us time to do what?
To give you
Give you
time
time
to prepare appropriate regulations as to what you wish to accomplish, what you wish to allow, and what you wish to not allow.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was to not allow it.
Yeah. All right, so Attorney Tiedoso, before we go on to the next agenda item, which is another moratorium, is there anything else that any other action that we need to take a vote on referring this to the zoning subcommittee and setting a public hearing?
Well, I think that you could refer it over. I don't know that you want to set your public hearing date yet.
No, we keep that open for staff to determine an appropriate date once the subcommittee has met and is ready to give us a report. So, but is there some kind of motion that I have to ask the commission to make to proceed on anything?
I would just say your standard motion, referring it to your subcommittee, ask them to come back with a recommendation.
Okay. Very good. So
Can I just
Go ahead.
further clarify, the public hearing for the moratorium would be strictly limited to the fact that we're issuing a moratorium, or with the understanding that we're issuing it to further develop? And would there be another public hearing where people could express, such as they would at a referendum, whether they're in agreement or disagreement with that? In other words, getting public input on both aspects, on both having the moratorium and on whether or not we should allow dispensaries in town.
If you choose to go that route and have the moratorium first, then yes, each public hearing is separate.
So we'd have to have another public hearing to get input.
Correct.
Yeah. We didn't do that the first time around for the medical marijuana. There was one public hearing 2 months after the commission approved, accepted the, and voted on the proposal for a moratorium. Then it went out for referrals, and then at the end of August, that was in June 2013, at the end of August in 2013 was the public hearing. It was held at the beginning of the meeting, that the second meeting that month. And then after other agenda items went through under old business, a vote was taken to establish the moratorium.
That's assuming that your commission comes back and says that they want a moratorium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the motion would be for approval to have this topic be referred to the zoning subcommittee to determine whether or not a moratorium would be required. Is that, am I cutting it off too soon, or is that?
I think you want to refer it to your subcommittee to come back with a recommendation as to whether or not you're going to have a moratorium in place so you could amend your zoning regulations.
Right. I thought that's what I was saying, but I guess not. All right. So does everybody have any questions for Attorney Teodoso before we proceed? Okay, if not, is there anyone from the commission that would like to make a motion as stated by Attorney Teodoso to refer this to the zoning subcommittee for their review to see if a moratorium is necessary on this particular topic and to amend our zoning regulations?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so there's a motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is any commissioner seconding it?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Romano has made the second. So on the vote for the referral to the zoning subcommittee and their determination as to whether or not a moratorium should be put in place and a public hearing held, do a roll call vote.
Wait a minute, public hearing. No, we're not going to public hearing now.
No, it's for, and for later on a public hearing to be held. Not setting a public hearing.
But maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And for the zoning subcommittee to determine if a public hearing is needed. To go.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so Commissioner Harkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye, I think some of the wording has gotten confusing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm looking around the screen and I think people are confused, and I think we should just restate what this motion is. I believe that I'm voting aye, and I'm supporting for the zoning committee to take a
subcommittee.
look at the consideration of a moratorium,
right,
period.
And to
From that
report back,
point,
and
yes.
to report back to the commission with a
That's
recommendation.
correct.
Mhm.
Yes, and report back to the commission. Thank you, Commissioner Parkins. And we go from there. But this is just to take up the potential of a moratorium and then to come back to this commission. That's what I'm supporting.
Yes,
Correct.
right.
Thank
Okay,
you for that, Jimmy. I was going to say I wouldn't be able to repeat this in the morning.
oh, we have it on tape now, Elaine. Okay, so I have the votes of aye from Commissioners Parkins, Kelly, and Tiki. Commissioner Laskos.
Aye.
Okay, what am I missing here? Parking.
Me?
No, Commissioner Amato.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I.
Nope.
No,
No, I didn't call you. Go ahead.
I.
Aye, and the chair votes aye. Okay, so the other add-on was for the accessory dwelling units. Attorney Titoso, is there anything you could share about this new statute and the opt-out?
Yes, this is a regulation that is, I should say, a statute that's been passed by the General Assembly. Essentially what it's doing is it's taking section 8-2 and the sections that follow, and it's putting the onus with regard to this particular topic on the towns. It's allowing units to be considered dwellings as they are right now, provided that the facility is compliant with fire regulations. So without any change in the unit, if the unit can accommodate and is a in-law apartment, the way the law is right now, you have to allow it. You cannot put any regulations in place to stop it. But what you can do, if you don't like this immediate increase in density in your community, is that you can opt out of it. By opting out of it, this is going to sound a little familiar, you have got to essentially change your zoning regulations, because the general statute has changed your zoning regulations to allow for what they're calling the additional dwelling unit, ADUs. But there is a recipe in the general statute that allows you to follow a protocol, which is essentially having a public hearing and following the process to change zoning regulations. And by that activity, opt out. You need to put on the record the reasons that you are opting out. That there is no specific reason that can stop you from opting out. If you want to opt out, you can. I suspect that the state wants to do some kind of analysis of why communities opted out, maybe to study the process or the substance in the future. But there is an important point with regard to this. Another part of the general statutes specifically dealing with parking spaces has also been changed. And roughly the regulation, or I should say the statute, the way it's passed right now, says that communities cannot restrict one-bedroom apartments or pair one-bedroom apartments, require one-bedroom apartments to have one parking space and two-bedroom apartments to have two parking spaces, unless you opt out of that general statute, which has also been changed. Your regulation for parking has been changed by the state. So the design of the state was to change 8-2 and change it to allow additional dwelling units on existing structures and to disallow a pairing of the parking unless you opt out of those provisions for both.
I don't know what you said.
It's complicated.
Okay, I'll try to be clearer. I'm sorry.
It's too late for clear.
Right now,
I got it, Elaine. I'll help you.
Did you? Oh, thank you.
right now, you don't
like a
allow
double negative.
in-law apartments, essentially. I mean, you do through a process, but now the state has snapped its hands and said these dwelling units can be additional dwelling units if they have certain square footage and everything else.
So,
You can
Attorney-
stop them. What's that?
Attorney DCO, so I also understand they can be not attached to the building. They can be separate dwellings. Am I correct?
It could be a separate, a garage, whatever you want to call it.
Granny pod.
Now, can they do, is there square foot restrictions at this point, or bedroom
There are-
restrictions, or?
There
I
are
mean,
square
we have
foot-
them, but I'm not quite sure if this would have it.
There are some square foot parameters listed in the general statute. They talk about, I believe it's 30% of the square footage of the house itself.
Yeah, I have that in front of me. It says the ADU zoning regulations must allow attached and detached ADUs, and ADUs contained within the principal dwelling unit. It also must set a maximum net floor area for ADUs that is the lesser of either 30% of the principal dwelling's net floor area or 1,000 square feet. it must require setbacks, lot size, and building frontage less than or equal to that which is required for the principal dwelling. There's a number of things here that I can certainly share with everyone that in that report that I shared with the Attorney Teodoso. So regulations cannot require passageway between the ADU and principal dwelling. And to me, that leads to a one family becoming a multifamily dwelling without any oversight. So you can't have more than one parking space for the ADU in lieu of or fees in lieu of parking. There doesn't have to be a family, marital, or employment relationship between the principal dwelling unit's occupants and the ADU's occupants. There cannot be a minimum age for the occupants. And there cannot require separate billing or of utilities otherwise connected to or used by the principal dwelling unit or periodic ADU permit renewal. So
is this kind of an all or nothing thing? You have to agree to all of it or
No,
opt out, or
Are they voiding our regulations?
They're rewriting the general statute to say that certain things have to be allowed. And this is one of them unless you opt out.
mhm,
It's an attempt to create housing.
mhm.
If we
It
were,
would-
if we were to opt out, can we retain our in-law apartments and their parameters?
Yeah, it's not,
Yes.
it's not saying that you can't have your own regulations with regard to it.
Mhm.
Fran, is the parking associated with the dwellings or is the parking a separate issue altogether so that any apartments that we're approving, we would no longer be able to require, say in downtown, we would no longer be able to require one per unit?
The statutes were passed at the same time, but they're separate sections of the statute, and I read it the same way you do. If you don't pass that opt-out that I'm talking about, you're going to be barred from having a, if you will, a ratio to your parking.
Mhm.
Citywide, okay.
Mhm.
That's on it. That's on a multi-dwelling too, right? I mean, as far as apartment houses.
Well, they're talking about 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom. I don't know that
Okay. Okay, it's not,
Okay, and what's the role of the Board of Aldermen? When do they weigh in once the
both
commission?
boards have to pass the policy, if you will, the opt-out policy by 2/3
Mhm,
in order for it to be effective.
mhm.
Do we have to approve it first or pass it first before they do, or?
Doesn't really say in the statute.
Right. And there's no time frame within so many days if one commission does something that the other one has to. I didn't.
No, but you have a deadline, which I believe is January 1st of next year to do this.
Mhm.
And this
Right.
went into effect January 1st of this year?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
It went into effect January 1st of this year?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other point about this, it seems that if applications come in between, you might have to take them.
Exactly. But they won't come into us. Isn't that the whole point, Attorney Teodoso? They can go right to the building department because it's as of
Well,
right.
I mean, process starting in the city of Shelton.
I'm not following you. I'm sorry.
You're
It's like-
correct. You're correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, they're permitted, but they still have to go through every single checks and balance that every other in-law attached addition, detached addition goes through. It's not just build ad hoc free willy. It's
No, I
yeah,
thought.
but I think that what Commissioner Archer was getting at is that they're permitted, but they wouldn't have to go through us to be permitted. Am I correct?
they still have to go through zoning.
Okay.
They
How
don't,
is-
they don't
how
have
is
the
that?
authority as of right to go right to the building department.
No, they have the right for an approval.
Mhm.
They still have to get a zoning permit for it. We can't, it's like when someone comes in to build a typical house on a
Mhm.
conforming lot. They
Mhm.
don't just go to the building department. They come to zoning and we certify that what they are proposing is accurate and conforming.
Mhm.
And then they move on. So we would have to do the same thing here, that whatever they're proposing.
Okay, but if through this interim period of until next January 1st, if they come through and we reject it, do we have the right to reject it?
No.
On what basis? We don't, right?
Mhm.
So our staff would have to go through the steps per the statute. To certify that it's designed to, the laws that have been passed.
So this is something we're gonna have a public hearing on as well. On both issues, the parking issue and the accessory dwelling, the ACU. So does this have to go before the subcommittee, or can we just call a public hearing and start this? Because basically, we're not changing our regs, we're putting our regs to stay in place, right? So that would be, we're just not accepting the states, we're opting out, right? We're not changing our regs, we're opting out of the state mandate,
Mhm.
correct?
Correct.
Schedule the public hearing.
Mhm.
I think my 2 cents would be, we won't be able to put this on a hearing until March at the earliest. So.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I'd rather have more
I would
discussion
just say.
prior to that, because I really don't understand this.
Would-
I would like to understand it better.
The
be
public
out-
hearing night would give the public a chance to weigh in, but that doesn't mean we cannot talk about it.
Similar to what we just did, or what the commission did with the prior topic, would you guys like us to work with the zoning subcommittee to discuss these details, and then we'll bring the
I
application?
would,
before
but
you,
I mean, not,
and
you know,
then
not that
you
I'm
can
looking
have
for
your
more
public
work,
hearing.
but
And we can pencil it in. Does
Yeah,
that
no, I-
make s-
I think the zoning subcommittee should have the ability to meet with staff and corporation council and.
Can we do it simultaneously, though? Can we set the hearing, but
Yes.
still refer it to
yeah.
zoning subcommittee
will.
so that we have a better understanding going into the public hearing? I don't want to delay scheduling the hearing while we, learn more about it. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with both of them, but no, not with the parking so much, but the accessory dwelling, so.
Yeah,
I would-
Mr. Rossetti said that we couldn't do anything until March anyways for a public hearing. So.
But are you going to wait for a referral to come back from the zoning subcommittee to set that public hearing is my
No.
question? No, okay,
No, he just said he could pencil it in.
okay.
Right now, it would seem that the public hearing would either be Wednesday, the 16th or Wednesday, the 23rd. If we stick to that schedule as a public hearing being part of a special meeting. So,
Two separate public hearings, or can we have one public hearing for both?
No, it's got to be two separate.
okay,
It can be on the same day, but it's got to
Okay.
be two separate
Yeah.
public hearings.
yeah, because two separate proposals altogether. All right, Attorney details or anything else that we need to dot our i's and cross our t's on this topic?
With regard to this topic, no.
No. Okay. Any other questions from the commission before we move on? So staff understands to set pencil in a public hearing, and it'll be up to staff to get in touch with the zoning subcommittee on both topics and to come back with some commentary. Okay, everybody understood?
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Thank you for your time, Attorney Tedosco.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, well, if you're seeing that was the last item on the agenda, I'm going to declare that the meeting is adjourning as of 8:12 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Everyone.